It is December 2017. My name is Michael Miller and I am a medevac helicopter pilot with Mercy Flight Central here in upstate New York. Many people are aware that I've been sharing my aviation journey since I began as a student pilot in 2007. And I continued to share my journey at my first job with Sevier County Choppers, a couple of videos down when I was at URS at Fort Rucker, at MedTrans, at Wings 2 in Greenville, Tennessee, and then continuing to share a little bit with Mercy Flight Central here in upstate New York. Today I bring to you an experience that will start in late summer 2018. My family and I will be going overseas as to be missionaries for approximately 1 year. We will be support staff for an Adventist Frontier mission project on the island of Palawan. This mission project is really neat. It has medical clinics, schools, churches, and a rice farm in the lowlands to help subsidize costs for the project and to give people work. Being overseas missionaries has been something that my family and I have always wanted to do, and now we are presented with this opportunity. My job while being over there will not be flying a BK-117, but it will be part of my job responsibility will be flying a tail dragger bush plane for medical and supply transport. We'll be landing up on a 500-foot mountain strip, and also being a backup helicopter pilot with PAMAS, which is another local organization that does mission work. They do medical and supply transport as well in a Robinson R44 helicopter. But that will be more of a side note. I'll be doing a lot of vehicle maintenance, building construction, helping to run the lowland rice farm. There will be many surprises along the way. My wife, who has medical training, will be taking care of a lot of the medical needs for the local people, but also with local church growth and development. This by far will be the most exciting, most challenging thing that my family and I will have ever done before in our entire life. We are asking for support in a couple ways. The biggest way that we are asking for support is by keeping us in your thoughts and prayers. Please pray for our health and safety, and also the wisdom and courage that we need to finish the jobs that we are called to do. The second way that we are asking for support is financially. It will cost us roughly $19,000, and that's on a bare bones budget, very realistic amount that will cost us for the 12 months that we are planning and expecting to be there. We are fundraising through Gospel Ministries International. It's a non-profit 501c3 organization, so any donations are tax deductible. So we would love to share our experience as overseas missionaries with as many people as possible, whether it be here on YouTube or on our Facebook channel, Miller Palawan Ministry. It's Miller Palawan, P-A-L-A-W-A-N Ministry. Thank you for supporting us, and we look forward to you joining our journey.
Located southeast of mainland Asia in the western Pacific Ocean is the Republic of the Philippines. It is an archipelago of 7,107 beautiful islands grouped into 3 divisions: Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. From its majestic mountains and lush rainforests to its crystal clear seas, its outstanding beauty can be seen everywhere. No wonder it's known as the Pearl of the Orient. But behind its beauty, the poverty is striking. It is evident everywhere, especially in the undeveloped provinces. Life is even harder when people get sick. Getting assistance on time is risky and sometimes impossible due to the mountainous terrain in very remote islands. Despite all these difficulties, God has sent help. In 2007, the Philippine Adventist Medical Aviation Services, a faith-based, volunteer-driven organization, was born. It humbly started its work with a 2-seater helicopter, providing emergency medical evacuation in the mountainous and remote regions of Palawan. Working with local churches and assisting ministries like Adventist Frontier Missions, it helped to sustain, advance, and expand the gospel medical missionary work throughout Palawan. After 3 years, that old small helicopter retired, but over the past 6 years, God has indeed blessed PAMAS. It has grown and expanded its work to meet the growing needs of the people here in the Philippines through its aviation and medical support.
Probably 60 to 70% of our flights are emergency medical flights, and these come in through calls from missionaries down in the islands or in the mountains that are working back in these areas. We try to assess, if this is truly an emergency that needs medical evacuation to the hospital, because obviously it's expensive to operate the aircraft. Sometimes we'll get calls where it's getting late in the day and we can't fly at night in this country. It's illegal to fly VFR at night. We had a call a few weeks ago that was getting late in the day that I left about 4:30, which I figured was about as late as I could leave and still get back before dark. But in one of the islands down off the south end of Palawan, there was a pregnant lady who was having complications with her delivery. So I flew down there and they were ready and had her waiting to load up in the helicopter, and they just had her laying in a blanket. They kind of slid her into the back seat onto the lap of her husband. I took off and headed back, and she was clearly in labor, but the delivery was not progressing, and every few minutes she'd let out a little cry or something, and I was just praying that we wouldn't have to have a baby delivered in the helicopter on the way back to the hospital.
Okay. The Palawano natives in the mountains and around near the mountains have a really poor situation. They have very few resources, and if they have any problems or emergencies, there's really not much that they can do. They'll either just die in the mountains, or if there's some missionaries around that can help them, then they have some hope. They don't even have enough money usually to get to the hospital, so 20, 40 pesos, or $2 to even get a tricycle to get transportation to the hospital. They can't afford that oftentimes. Or if they can afford that, or they can borrow some money, they'll get to the hospital, and then they can't afford the medicines. The government hospitals here are very good to the native Palawanos, and those who can't afford, they will provide free rooms and maybe one meal for the patient or the patient's watcher only. The doctor will be free, but any surgeries, any medicines like that aren't available, if the medicines are available, they'll be free, but if they're not available in the hospital, then they have to buy them outside in other pharmacies, and of course it's extremely expensive.
For us to get home, it's 3 hours of hiking on trails about this wide, up on one side, down on the other. Very, very steep, rainy season, very, very slippery. When you come to visit us, you will probably give some blood to accomplish that. Times when it took us 12 hours hauling people out on a stretcher on those kind of trails. And when I'm asked that question, I think of Kundar. He was our next door neighbor. I really liked Kundar. He was an old man, but he's just a good guy, good neighbor. And we were gone, and he got sick, and he had nowhere to go, so he started hiking out of the mountains to get to the hospital. And he made it out of the mountains all the way to the lowlands and died right there. And I just think if somebody had been there, that he could be alive today. And then you add to that we have work that we're trying to do, 12 hours hike farther into the mountains, and actually we had to close down that work because when people got sick there, it was so difficult to get them out. It was just almost impossible.
You get back into some of these mountainous areas in this country, and there's indigenous or native Filipinos living back in these areas. There's still some completely isolated from the outside world. There's still a number of tribal groups that have not been touched or entered at all by people from the lowlands or missionaries or anyone. and they're still living, you know, very primitively, just subsisting, and very ignorant, dirty, sick, huge amount of health problems. And here in Palawan, malaria is a big problem.
We also see that the physical needs is not enough. That's not all that people need. Oftentimes, you know, we can help them with their physical needs, but so oftentimes they'll have spiritual problems, or they'll have fighting amongst their family members or their neighbors, and they don't know how to take care of these things. And so we also try to help them with their spiritual needs.